Hello, this is Brad Tallis with Next Gen Solutions, and welcome to this week's Fusion Friday. This week's video is about finding features in the timeline and in the browser. So let's take a look. So in this example, you see I have an assembly that has multiple components, multiple features. In fact, if I scrub my timeline here, you can see lots of features and components, etc. You'll notice in my structure browser, I have it organized into assemblies, and then there's sub-assemblies like this end cap assembly, and it has a sub-assembly. So there's multiple levels in here, which can make it sometimes difficult to find particular features. So this video, I'm going to show some tips and tricks on how to speed that up. So for example, let's take a look at this sheet metal part right here, and I want to find it in my browser. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on like this face right here, right mouse click, and one of the options is Find in Browser. I'll go ahead and click on that, and you can see that it opened up the level. So it was under the extension arm assembly, and then here you can see the sheet metal part, this workpiece stop. So this is the sheet metal component, and there's even the body. You can kind of see how it highlights, underlines each of these. So this is the workpiece stop. So the next tip I want to show is I can activate this particular component, and it only shows the features in the timeline that was used to create that particular component. So it simplifies the timeline. I'm not having to find these features, in that fairly lengthy timeline. I also like to right click and say isolate. What this does is it basically turns everything else off, and we're now just looking at this workpiece stop. The next tip I want to show is if you click on a particular feature. So for example, if I click on this bend right here, you can see that it highlights that flange feature in the timeline. So for example, if I were to click on this one here, you can see how it highlights that feature in the timeline. I can even click, for example, like on this hole right here, and we can see that it highlights the hole. And if I right mouse click, I can say Edit Feature. And I'm now editing the size of that hole. So I didn't have to find it in the timeline. I was able to find it in find the part in my structure browser, isolate it so we're just looking at it, see just the features in the timeline, and then pick on a particular feature to edit that. I can right mouse click on it and say unisolate, and it'll turn all of the other parts back on. I'm going to go ahead and activate this top level. The next tip I want to talk about is you'll notice on this wheel there's a sketch, and that sketch is buried somewhere in this structure. I have no idea where. So I like to use the probe command. So I'm just going to click and hold my mouse for about a second on this sketch, and you can see it's probing through and it's showing the sketch arcs. There's a profile, there's edges, faces, etc. But the tip here is actually to go over to this Parents tab, and this kind of shows the hierarchical order of this sketch. So we can see that this sketch is owned by the wheel hub, and the wheel hub is owned by the wheel assembly, and the wheel assembly is owned by the miter saw stand. So I can quickly see that this is in the wheel hub part, or component I should say, underneath the wheel assembly. So if I go ahead and click on that, we can see that it highlights in my browser. And if I were to expand that open, let me click over here so you can kind of see there's that wheel hub. I'll expand that open, and here's the sketches. In fact, if I expand that open, I can see that I have that one sketch turned on. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and we can see that that sketch is turned off. Okay, the next tip I want to show is component color cycling. So if I go up to my inspect menu, there's an option here called display component colors. And when I do that, you'll notice that it colors each of these components with these like different pastel colors. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just click on this wheel and I'll say find in browser. And sure enough, it expands open the wheel assembly. Here's the wheel, and then there's the particular body. So I'm going to select this guy and say find in timeline. And you'll notice it kind of jumps to this component right here in the timeline, and then I can see all of this green right here. And so we notice that this part is green here. So these are all of the features that were used to create this particular part in this order. So, I created an axis and then a plane and a sketch, and I did a revolve, etc., etc. So it's kind of a quick way to, find where this is in the timeline by using the color component. So, and that's a toggle you can turn on or off. So let me do the exact same thing. Let's just pick, for example, this part here. I'll right mouse click, I'll say find in browser. I'll right click on it in my browser and say find in timeline. And let me go ahead and turn the component colors back on. We can see this is kind of a rose color or red color. And here are all of the features that were used to create that particular sheet metal component. So hopefully these quick tips will help you find parts and features in future projects. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, all I ask is that you give the video a thumbs up and share or repost the video with others in your network. This will help spread the knowledge of Fusion out to the community. If you have any comments or ideas for future topics, please reach out to me at bradtallis@nextgensolutions.com, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Fusion Friday.